And we are back with our next guest. Hello, everyone. Please join me in welcoming Basil Wright to the show. I am so excited to speak with Basil about Pelogos. Basil, why don't you give us an introduction, please?
So an introduction about me or about the game?
Yes, both. I want to hear about both.
Okay. I guess we'll start with me. Hey everybody, I'm Basil. I also go by Baz. Any is honestly fine. So I am a Black and Indigenous game designer, writer, sensitivity consultant, chaos gremlin. A fun thing I always tell my friends is I have a goblin dance of good luck that I do trot out every so often when my friends need assistance. It's every single friend has said it's an interesting sight to behold, but in the most positive of ways. Gosh, I don't, what else about me? I like making wonderfully weird games. I like making games that the average person probably wouldn't think of because I'm autistic, I'm neurodivergent in a bunch of different ways. I'm also disabled. uh, you know, that's awesome for me. uh, just I like making games that don't fit within normal boundaries, that come with different solutions, that don't always resolve with you stab it, which kind of dovetails neatly right into Pelogos, which is it is a horror game. I have an interesting relationship with horror. I don't watch horror movies. I'm a super weenie, but I do
Same.
enjoy survival horror games. So Pelogos is like my attempt to sort of kind of harness the fact that I am actually skilled at writing horror. I just prefer not to most of the time, but also process like my feelings about, death, grief, the afterlife. The game sort of came to me after my mom passed away in March, which sad affair all around, but that and my own sort of semi hilarious, I guess, because I'm still alive. The fact that every single time I've been in a large body of water, I've almost drowned due to I know how to swim. That's the wild thing. Like I know how to swim competently enough to where that wouldn't shouldn't happen, and yet here I am.
And yet,
Oh, church camp. But
so
yes, Pelagos is supposed to be. I'm sorry.
no. Go ahead.
Just
Yeah,
sort of
so Pelagos, you
yeah.
play as a lantern keeper, correct? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, yes, I can. So a lantern keeper is basically, as I've been describing it, as like an underwater paranormal investigator. The whole thing with lantern keepers is that in the very beginning, there were a ton of lantern keepers and they went out and kept everyone safe. And there was also a period of time where there were a bunch of sea monsters, and that's where most of the lantern keepers ended up disappearing because they kind of had to lay down their lives to defeat all these sea monsters so that they would stop messing with people's dreams, because all of these creatures and everything that the lantern keepers go into is the mare sea, which is the sea of dreams and innovation. So every sort of like technological advancement, any sort of creative idea, the fact that your dreams are weird is because that everyone in this setting is connected to this sea of dreams, even children, which I talked about a little bit on Twitter. But for anyone concerned, no child is ever harmed in this setting. That's not something I'm ever interested in doing. And there actually is a specific reason that I get to explore a bit in the full version of the game as to why children, especially, are in no danger as they dream and venture inadvertently in the Mare Sea. It's going to be a lot of fun. But Lantern Keepers have various abilities, and it's a little bit like when superheroes first discover their powers. Someone starts glowing in the street randomly. They have strange dreams that they can't explain. They can see the future a little bit, sort of learn information that maybe they had no idea about. Just various powers. And so, what usually ends up happening when there's more lantern keepers, because right now in this current age, there's only about five professional ones, and there used to be like hundreds. It's, sort of you would get like a letter, or someone would come find you and say, hey, you're one of us. Come join us here at the Bale at the lighthouse, and, make things safer for people sleeping so that everyone else can still continue to do their jobs and get on with their lives and not be plagued with endless nightmares.
That's I every single time that you bring something up about the setting for Pelogos, I'm just more and more enthralled by the idea of this sea of dreams and that these lantern keepers are, protecting folks from kind of the horrors of this place. It's so cool. Um, I also wanted to ask, because I know that you are a Greek scholar, and I was interested in asking what Pelagos means in Greek.
Yes, so I guess that technically should have been part of the about me section. I have, both my bachelor's and my master's is in classics, which is Greco-Roman stuff is usually how I summarize it. The nerdier thing is I'm specialized in Athenian vase painting, specifically black figure, which I could talk about for ages. But one of the things that I like to do in my games, if I can fit it in and it makes sense, is cram in as much Latin and ancient Greek as I can, especially ancient Greek, which for anyone who hasn't taken it, it is a lot harder to remember all the verbs because they all feel irregular. But it was fun. Shout out to my professors who really helped with that. But so Pelogos is actually a portmanteau of two words. The ancient Greek word for the sea and the ancient Greek word for, well, thoughts, words, stories. We'll get into that. So it is palassus, which is the word for the ocean or the sea, and then logos, which is thoughts and stories. And so when you put them together as pelogos, what it means is sea stories, thoughts about the sea, stories about the sea, which is why all of the adventures in the game are called sea stories. And also because it ties in really well with the sort of nautical theme of diving into the Mare Sea and learning about all these tales and stories. So that's what pelogos means. And actually, there's another Latin word. The Mare Sea itself is a slight permutation on the Latin word mercy. Sorry, Mersi. It's got like that long I on it, which means which has to do with being submerged. So even the nature of the Mare Sea itself has to do with being submerged, being in this water, dealing with everything that's going on. And so it's supposed to, sort of like help you think about the setting. It's an extra fun thing for people who know Latin or know Greek. It's like, oh, hey, I know what that means.
Yeah, that's so cool. So I think we can take a look at your campaign um, up on the screen, perhaps.
Ooh, boy.
But oh yes, okay, we have it up. Because I do want to show off, some of the stuff that you have put down here. I especially love your tagline, "There is no mercy in the mercy." It's so evocative. Um, but I did uh I want to ask, about your rewards and maybe a little selfishly, I want to ask a little bit about your stretch goals.
Okay. So yeah, so just as a brief aside, the fun thing about that tagline is I really love puns. And once I realized as I was workshopping this with friends, I was like, wait, if I pronounce it this way, then we get this in here. And yeah, I can always tell when a pun has been, done perfectly when my sibling makes a horrible groaning noise because Z's not the biggest fan of puns like I am. But in terms of the rewards, so you have your standard sort of rewards where you can get your name in the credits for, about $2. You can get a PDF copy, for 10 or buy a community copy, which was really important to me, as I started my game design career and learning about community copies. And I was just like, oh, cool, great. How do I turn this on itch? As I'm like looking up tutorials and trying to watch videos, I'm like, oh, this isn't intuitive, but there we go. I've turned it on now. And that's something I want to keep doing with all my games as much as possible. Because, we've all been there. There's been moments where it's like I really, with like a small little treat, but funds don't allow for, that to be possible. And I really do love the fact, as I've been keeping, an eye on the campaign, that people have been buying community copies, and, the tabletop community and the games community in general, they're so wonderful. The two sort of custom sort of rewards is the one where you can support it at a higher level to create an NPC within the world, which I'm hoping some people will jump on that, because I would love to populate the world with more people that they want to see in there, outside of me making references to my friends' games through NPCs. I already sort of have one planned where the boatman is a has a little pen pal that's a reference to my one of my buddy's games. And I'm really excited to see if anyone decides to claim the perk where you can make your own sea story, because as weird and out there as I can make things, I'm always interested in seeing what other people can come up with. Like, do you want werewolves in there? Are there vampires? Like, we can talk it out, we can figure things out. Are there actually werewolves, or is it just people's like fears and thoughts about, wolves and men and people transforming, that's now showing up in the Mare Sea as this kind of thing, and maybe it has a face full of tentacles, or maybe it sings like a siren and then suddenly shifts into something else, like just tons and tons of fun. But in terms of stretch goals, I am really excited. And I do hope we at least hit the first one, which is researcher mode, which is a version of Pelogos where it's single player. And so you'll be playing as a researcher during the Maelstrom Age, which is chock a block of sea monsters. Like, pretty much around that time, people were kind of afraid to just go boating during the daytime while they were awake, because they were afraid that monsters would just rise out of the oceans that weren't even connected to the Mare Sea. And so it's just sort of a way for people to be able to play by themselves and learn more about the setting as well, and just sort of just have fun with it. Learn more about what's going on about this age that doesn't really get touched on too much in the base game, outside of this is why there's so few people at this lighthouse and why they're kind of understaffed. But very excited, really hoping that'll happen. The next stretch goal, which I'm sure you're interested in, is I'm excited for all of these stretch goals, of course, but I would really love to hit this one as well, because I want to make a sea story that's compatible with your game, yours and Scott's, Oh Captain, which, after playing the preview that you put up on your own campaign, I was hooked. Sometimes I'm sitting at work and I'm like,
Thank you.
I could be playing Oh Captain again. I could, but I probably shouldn't. I probably should be working. And then I look at my phone and I'm like, but how much time do I
Time.
have on my lunch break?
I sneak solo games on my lunch break all the time. I know that feeling, but thank you.
Yes. So, if the campaign reaches, 3,500, we'll be able to do that. And it won't be coming out for a while, but very, very excited. The one after that is a reference to my friend's game, Alex, Great Glass Sword Games Mantle. I'm not sure when
Ooh.
they're going to be putting out Mantle, but I did talk with them. It's this cool game where you're ascending a tower to become God, and each floor is like its own world unto itself. And so, I've had some dialogue back and forth about how that would look, and how, you know, whether you could fit an ocean in that tower or not. Because one of the things I really enjoy about developing the Mare Sea is that, because it is, basically where all your dreams come from, it connects in weird ways to things. Your dreams, other people's dreams. It can easily, like, oh yeah, no, the Mare Sea is totally connected to this game or that game or what have you. Um, and then, the last goal is me getting paid, which is the last goal, because yes, you should pay yourself, but at the same time, I'm not, I want to pay my team first, because they're the ones who all agreed to come with me on this wild ride and said, "Yeah, I want to help you with this." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, really? You're all so cool though." Like, every time I talk to people and they're like, "Yeah, you can reference my game," or "Yeah, I want to work on Pelogos with you," or even just, "Oh wow, Pelogos sounds cool." I'm like, "But you're really cool." And my mood is just that little emoji of the eyes where they're
I don't know, Basil. Maybe you are the cool one. Very possible.
Somebody
Might
said
have
that
to
to
do
me, and I
some.
was like,
I don't know. I mean, I think it's you. I think you're the cool one. But I also want to say that adding stretch goals where, you take the setting and the C story aspect of your game and bringing it to other systems is such a cool thing. I feel like a lot of folks who are crowdfunding, especially in the indie scene, have come up with some fantastic ideas to, bring their game into the community and incorporate it into the community, like the having a reward tier for community copies is so cool. So that, because I know that folks often will want to give money, but they don't necessarily want to give, like they don't want to buy a second product or whatever. Shout out to my mom, who is like, I don't know what this is. I don't want this book, but she bought like community copies instead of just giving money. And
"Huh."
that's such a really, really cool way to, get as much of the community involved in a project. So it's been really, really cool to see how creators are being well creative with their rewards and stretch goals. And so it's so cool that your stretch goals are going to introduce folks to other systems. One of them just so happens to be mine. So I know I sound like self-important when I say it, but even if you weren't, making something for O Captain, I would still think it was very cool. Um, let's see. I'm looking through the chat right now. I don't see any questions, but I do see folks are in fact agreeing with me, Basil, that you are very cool.
Aw, thanks,
Um,
guys.
so
I try not to get too too big-headed about it because I'm always joking about, oh, I'm a Leo. We love compliments.
yes.
Give me more
Hmm.
compliments. And I if you had met teenage me, I would have just been like, nah, I'm the coolest person in the room. These other people, no. Okay, yeah, sure, we're talking about this, but let's talk about me. I teenage me has literally said, okay, but can we go back to talking about me though? Because I wasn't done talking about me. Oh
Well,
man, you
Basil,
hit 30 and it's like, who was that?
Basil, is there anything else you would like to share before we sign off?
Oh gosh. I would say just two quick things. Definitely want to shout out the rest of my team. Birdie is doing the art. They're amazing. They have their own web comic. It's referenced on the campaign page. I love the Magical Freelancers Guild, read it every day. Uh, Lirio, I was so happy when she agreed to be the editor because I'm so cool. Andy, he's been, we've been buds for a little bit. He's helped me out behind the scenes on many of my other games, just looking it over and then occasionally helping me with, hey, that math is wrong. Being a tabletop creator and having dyscalculia has been so much fun as the numbers don't uh sit still. But I love every single person on my team. They're amazing, and I cannot wait to bring this game to y'all. And the only other thing is that, definitely haven't mentioned it yet, but I pretty much envision every single NPC as being a person of color of some variety. Everyone is a person of color, and just about everyone is queer. Several of the NPCs explicitly have neo pronouns for that reason. Some of them have my pronouns. Oh, I guess it's a little small fun fact. In the promo video with Sammy Heathglen, Sammy uses Zer, which is one of my pronouns, but there's also it's a bit of a joke because the thing about Sammy is Z never shuts up, and that is one of my qualities. I never stop talking. So Z's kind of an XP of me.
That's fantastic. Well, Basil, thank you so much. It was awesome having you on the show. Folks in chat, we put a link. So if you have not supported Pelogos yet on Crowdfundr, please click that link and let's get this game funded. Um, and stick around. We'll be back with our next guest.